Hi, welcome to my studio. About 1 year ago, I moved into this studio, and I promised you guys to film a new studio tour, as I also bought a lot of second-hand tools around that time. So here I am, finally making that video. I knew from the start that I would only rent this studio temporarily, as we are going to move to France, but I didn't know it would only be for just over 1 year. Let's take a look around. At the entrance I have some decorations on the wall and some little things that inspire me. The first bench on the left side is mostly for working with wax, but I do have some equipment on here for metal work too, like a ring stretcher. So I have a wax injector machine here, an electric wax carving pen, an old machine to vulcanize my rubber molds, and next to the bench is a drawer unit with a microscope on top, and in the drawers are all my rubber molds. On the next bench I have a machine for casting that I am not using yet. I will install everything to be able to cast in my soon-to-be new studio in France. Up until now I brought my wax models to a professional casting company to do the casting. Other things on this bench are some metal shaping equipment, an ultrasonic cleaner and a tumbler. In the drawers I keep smaller items, and underneath I have more things to install in my future studio. Next is my jeweler's bench. This is where most of the magic happens. For my soldering setup I use a propane and oxygen torch. One of my favorite tools is called a Rudy. As you have noticed, I turn most of my tools into little creatures to keep my inner child happy while working in this very serious business. On the wall in front I have a hammer rack, some plants and decorations. On my desktop I have a pickle pot, a spinning organizer with polishing bits, a wooden box with burrs and drills, a block with some needle files, and a cup with some sanding sticks. On the other side I have some soldering surfaces, a borax cone and lots of work-in-progress items. Then, the most important part, my bench pin. I use this GRS system, which is easy to switch from bench pin to the GRS Benchmate. This is a ring clamp with a holder that is mostly used for stone setting, but I use it for finishing castings. And it's easy to switch to a soldering station as well. Underneath that I have a tray to catch metal dust, filings and scraps to recycle. Underneath my bench top are some ring clamps, saw frames and so on. The bench also has 2 drawers where I keep my bigger files and some smaller hand tools. Now let's take a look at the other side of the studio. Here I have a polishing machine. And next to that is another workbench. On top of the bench, you can see I keep 2 engraving machines. One is for rings, and the other one is for flat sheet. These are old tools, but after giving them a well-needed clean and finding some spare parts, they work very well and are a perfect addition to my studio. I also have another pickle pot here and my tiny old kiln I use for enameling. Underneath the bench I have 2 rolling storage racks from IKEA with lots of tools. The workbench itself has tons of storage space in all these little drawers. The big drawer in the middle is where I keep all my enamel supplies. Now I'll show you what is in the middle of my studio on the work table. Here I have a small printing press which I use to print my lino cuts. So this is not for jewelry making, but I put it here because it's next to the only free desktop space I have here, which is mostly used for drawing and sketching. Next to this drawing spot is my Thurston rolling mill. And also on this bench is my draw bench monster to pull wires. In this corner I have set up an IKEA shelving unit to keep all the other stuff that belongs to my business, like books and boxes filled with packaging supplies and things to display my jewelry, for example on a craft fair. Here I also keep some equipment stored that I also want to install in my next studio. I bought so many things second-hand this year, but not all of it has gotten place to use in this studio. I keep a radio here and a coffee machine, but also some storage boxes with paints, inks and so on. The little corner at the entrance of the studio is mostly dedicated to my plants and acts as a seating area to meet with customers, even though that didn't really happen a lot because of COVID. It's also where I sit down and eat my lunch or take a break. It also has this white drawer unit that is filled with paper and notebooks, and I also use this space to take photos of my jewelry, because this area has a lot of natural light from the skylight. So that was the studio. I could talk hours about tools and equipment, so if you want to know more about any specific tool, machine or bench, just let me know in the comments down below, and I'll get more into detail about it in one of my next videos. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you found it interesting, and consider subscribing to my channel for more jewelry making content. See you soon. Bye.